Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About PHI. Today, we're going to continue talking to each other. And the previous video, Cat interviewed me, and now I get to turn the tables and interview Cat. And if many of you remember, one of the last questions was, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? I'm just saying, Cat, just wait. Okay. So this is our opportunity to just kind of give everybody an idea and for us to get to know each other even a little bit better, even though we worked together for a lot of years, but also to hopefully give everybody some insight about each of our pathways into entrepreneurship, where we are, where we went with our career. So again, welcome everybody, and we hope you enjoyed today's session. So Kat, let's get started.
Yes, yes.
So first, let's just start with the basics. What was your career path? How did you get started in marketing? And what led you into healthcare marketing?
Well, when I in college, I was actually a psych major, and which I loved. I love learning about the affect of people, how they reacted to things, how they experienced emotions, and so on and so forth. But I didn't like the practice of it. I minored in business, and I love marketing. And psychology and marketing work very well together, especially if you're very client focused and you really think about what makes a person tick. I got into healthcare marketing kind of by accident. I needed a job. I was working, but I needed a more stable job. And my mother worked at an organization in Manhattan called Life Extension Institute, and it was where executives back then would go get physicals. And they needed a new person to run the clinic, and I kind of went in and I interviewed and I started working there. So I actually started working directly in the clinic space with physicians and managing the office and so on. And then I worked into the administration side and so on and so forth. And during that time, my sister, she was struck down with lupus, and it kind of devastated her body. Lupus, we actually didn't know much about it back then. It was kind of a surprise, came out of nowhere, what seemingly, and eventually changed my trajectory and my thought process about healthcare and working in the healthcare space because, I noticed that the physicians that seem to have the right information, right technology, right services seem to work better and communicate better with her, and also different personalities and so on. I just like being in that space. I didn't want to be a doctor or nurse and so on, but I could do marketing and continue marketing in the healthcare space because then I could help those organizations get their services and solutions to the physicians that and doctors and nurses that could make a difference. So that's why I stayed. I just love being in that space and love doing my adjacent part to healthcare.
Yeah, it's interesting how so many people learn so many things about healthcare that impact their future just by being a patient and going through those experiences and seeing all those differences. Okay, so then what led you into wanting to be an entrepreneur?
Well, it was always on the back of my mind, but I went right into the corporate track. When I moved from New York to Georgia, I really started to really get into the corporate track where I was working in more of the B2B space. And I loved it. I excelled, but I always wanted to work on my own, but I didn't quite have either the courage or the thought that I could actually do it. I I just I, I just stayed in the corporate track and growing, but always having this little thought in the back of my mind. And in that space, while I was on the corporate track, I always was very systemized in what I did. So I focused on strategic marketing. I was corporate VP of marketing for a large organization, and I had processes in place that I used over and over that really worked to help people really get through the marketing process. I call it the 3D strategic marketing approach, where people define, design, and deploy the right solution. So this way we can get through the different stages and connect with sales and the clients and so on, and really lay down the process in a way that makes sense and helps you meet your goals. I was working in a large organization, which I loved. Toward the end of my year, there was a lot of mergers that were happening, and I got packaged out. I was kind of sad. Well, I was sad, but at the same time, I had enough cushion in my package that I could really sit back and decide, because at first, immediately, I was like, well, I've got to find another job. I've got to start getting that resume out and getting to another corporate space. But then I thought to myself, what do I really want to do? What do I really love doing? And what I love doing is helping organizations that didn't have good marketing, had lackluster marketing, that didn't really have processes in place, really put those processes in place and create a marketing program that really helped elevate their brand, really got their message up there, and really connected with their clients. So I thought, well, why don't I try just focusing on consulting, CMO as they call it now, but really consulting, going in and helping build those marketing spaces for organizations and then leaving. And so this way they can then continue to do the good work that I help plant a seed about on. So I took a deep breath, and one of the processes I did to really decide how I was going to present myself was I took all of my marketing and I applied it to me. I created a 3D strategic marketing approach strategy for me. I sat down and went through the whole process, and it helped really get me focused on who, and I was going to stay in the B2B space. I'm going to stay really niched into healthcare, and I'm going to help these folks help healthcare. And that's what I've been doing for the past 8 years. And in that process and in those companies, that's how I met you.
Yes, it is. So I have to ask, because we're all good at acronyms in healthcare that not everybody even knows what they are, and in your case in marketing, what is B2B?
B2B is business to business, is when one business sells to another business. And a lot of times people think about it as businesses selling to business, and which it is, but you're really selling to people within an organization. And that particular marketing means that it tends to have a longer runway, in that there might be a lot of buyers, they might have a big budget. So the marketing has to hit a lot of different ways. So this way it can get them closer and closer, to trusting you. So this way then you can connect them to the sales team, and then they can go. So business to business is different from business to consumer, whereas the consumer, it's like when you go to Amazon and you're just buying something off of Amazon, that's business to consumer. B2B is maybe a health IT company selling to a hospital. Hospital is a business.
Healthcare is a business, everybody. Okay, so I know, in us having worked together, and I know one of your passions that you have been involved with is women with a dynamic purpose. Talk to me and everybody a little bit about that, and how
Well,
it started and what it is.
yeah, see, I'm excited. I'm ready to talk about that. The Women with Dynamic Purpose was born out of two things. The number one, how I took the process of marketing to help me create a path going forward. When I had those moments of sitting back and contemplating life, I started to go to all these different types of organizations to see, how can I get motivated? How can I get actionable steps to what I have to do next? I was still kind of pondering, and I would go on these girls' trip. It was pre-pandemic, of course, with some of my friends, and one of my friends in particular, Emmy Weber, she's also in marketing in the healthcare space. We would get up early, and I kept complaining and lamenting about how I couldn't find organizations that really were actionable. I mean, I would go to these really great events and I'd come out and I was pumped, but I didn't know what to do. And I talked to her about the fact that I use my 3D strategic marketing approach and it's helped me. And she said, why don't we just create an organization that does that thing that we wanted to do, which is give women, especially in the corporate space, actionable steps. So this way they can either prepare for the shifts that are going to happen in the business space, especially as you're, as I call it, rising in age. Because as you get older in the corporate space, it becomes harder and harder for women to continue to grow. So the question is, do you want to continue to shift within your organization? Do you want to shift out of your organization? Maybe you want to shift into something new. How do you do that? And so the Women with Dynamic Purpose was born around that whole process of using our marketing insights that we both had and creating a program that takes women through the path. We even created a little book that's called Shift Always Happens, because shift always does, and you've got to be prepared and you've got to have a process in place. So this way, it's not to stop the shifts that happen. It's how do you react to them, and how prepared are you? So this way, it's like, no big deal. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go left. I'm going to go right. I'm going to go forward. So that's the Women with Dynamic Purpose. We used to do conferences every year. Once the pandemic occurred, we wrote the book, and then we're going to be getting back to the conferences. There'll be virtual, some retreats, and so on and so forth. But that's our goal, to help women that are rising in age prepare for the shifts that happen in their lives, in the corporate spaces, or going forward.
And Shift Happens is available on Amazon, right?
It is. Shift Happens is available on Amazon. You can also go to it. You can get connected to it via our website, which is www.dynamic-purpose.com.
Okay. Now, I know that not only have you published with that, but you've published some other things, some books with your own artwork on it, that type of thing. I know that that's something you've been interested in, but I also know that you are looking at possibly even going into some other areas, including professional coaching. So tell me about that.
I'm so excited about this. At the end of the year, what I did was I sat back and I said, what gives me joy? I wanted to answer that question for myself. Am I as joyful as possible in my everyday work? And I love working in the marketing space, in the healthcare B2B marketing space, but I found that when I was talking to individuals and coaching them and informally coaching them, and I do a lot of mentoring, I just get energized. I love helping people find their path any way they can. So I sat down and I said, well, why don't I, as part of my Women with Dynamic Purpose, why don't I use that opportunity to also venture into life coaching? I'm building my program. It's almost done. I'm excited to say it's called CV, Strategic Path Life Coaching. And again, it's about strategy. It's about laying down a path. It's about identifying your goal. Whereas the Women with Dynamic Purpose kind of gives you, these are the tools to do it. I'm going to help with my coaching to see what's blocking people to get from where they are now to where they want to be, help them move the blocks out the way, so this way they can achieve the best self that they want to have, whatever that goal is. And just talking about it makes me so excited, because I think a lot of times we as people tend to put our blocks up and we think that they're external, so we can't break through, but actually they're internal. So you absolutely can break through and you can get to where you need to go. And it's just a matter of kind of getting that guidance and really narrowing down and niching down. And I always use marketing terms, niching down to what that goal is, so this way you can find the path and get there, and then put the steps in place, so this way you're successful. And I want to help as many people get there. I want to help as many women rising in age achieve their goals, because if you wake up every day, it doesn't matter how old you are. This is my 59th year. I'm going to be 60 in a couple months, maybe 4, 5, 6 months, June. And so am I old? Only if I say I am. Okay. Can I stop moving forward? Only if I decide I can. Can I do new things? Absolutely, because I've decided I can, and I just am so excited about it. And listen, you got to live until you're not living. So that's my path forward.
Absolutely. And to go along, it's interesting because I listen to you with the same passion that you have about wanting to help people get their successes. Like I want to do it through teaching. Yeah, it's exciting. And I think part of that is even the wisdom of all the years that we've been around wanting to make a difference to help people instead of just climb over people to do a career ladder. We get to help lift people up, and I think that's awesome. I think where you're going is awesome. One of the things that I know we keep hearing and they talk about with entrepreneurship, so I'm going to go sideways just a little bit. They say entrepreneurs have to be able to market themselves and sell themselves every day, which you and I both know is where I struggle. But the big thing that I'm going to throw out, because we've had this conversation a few times, is what's the difference between marketing yourself and selling yourself?
Well, if you just think about sales and marketing is helping people become more aware of what it is that you are offering related to what problem they're having. So it's more about them. So marketing is about telling people and identifying and presenting their problem and saying there's a way to fix it. And it's about getting people to feel that they can trust you enough to then consider buying from you. And now selling is the process where you kind of go deeper and then you start talking about what exactly the solution is that you're offering and then asking for the contract. Many times entrepreneurs are good at maybe the marketing part or maybe even the selling part, but they have to be good at both. You have to be able to get your message out there, get your brand out there, make people trust you and see, yes, this is a credible source that if I part with my money, because really you're trying to do two things when you are in the process of marketing and selling. You're trying to do, number one, get people to say, this person won't harm me, they will help me get to what I need. And two, I have to part with my money. Yes, I'm okay with parting with my money so this person can help me. So this is the whole dynamic. You have to be able to do both of those things. Asking people for money becomes very uncomfortable the first time you do it. You're like, here's my contract. And they're like, well, it's a little expensive. The first reaction is to say, let's see, maybe I can give you a discount. And really, it's about focusing on the value of what you're going to give that individual, what they're going to get. That's the thing you have to remember. When someone is ready to talk about contract and they're saying, these are your services and solutions, and this is the process, and I'm going to transform what you're doing today so this way your outcomes are better, there's a value associated with that. You're going to get more clients. How much is a client's lifetime value? You're going to get better branding, so this way your sales process is shorter. You're going to maybe create better visibility so people find you easily, so this way you can then sell more of what you do. There's value to that, and it's trying to it's ensuring that you maintain, and you as the person that's presenting their services remembers that you are giving them a value, and there's a financial amount associated with that. So it's just kind of putting those things in place. And one of the best things to do is to write out a strategic plan for yourself, put out how you're going to market yourself, what are your goals, what you're going to give what is this person going to get from parting with their money and getting with you. So you've got to be clear on that so you can articulate it. And then this way you can, because sometimes when you're presenting a contract, sometimes it's not that you have to reduce the amount. Maybe it's the time. Maybe instead of a 6 month contract, well, why don't we do 3 months? Why don't we do 3 months, and then we'll talk about that and start working that way. So it's just really understanding your value, understanding the value you're going to give, and then understanding any financial gains they're going to get, because ultimately that's what it is.
See, coaching advice already. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to throw a couple questions out at you.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you do this either with you yourself or even as a coach. So, what's something that people may assume about you that is incorrect? And I'm going to say you or maybe some clients.
Well, a lot of people think I'm an extrovert because I'm very high energy when I'm talking. I use my hands a lot. But actually, I am an introvert. So I'm as equally happy connecting, but I'm very happy being alone and thinking and reading and meditating. I love to go to a spa by myself and just sit there, and I won't talk to anyone. Because I think I love to be contemplative and just think about things, because that's when the best ideas pop up. So people think I'm an extrovert. People think I'm, love to be out, and I do, but I need to be recharged and go back into my shell in order to be that extroverting looking person.
So, as a fellow introvert, I'm just going to clarify too. Are you shy? Do you have a hard time talking to people?
Say I decided not to be shy.
Yeah.
Because I feel the stress, but I decided, because I know where I want to go. So in order to do that, I have to open my mouth, and I have to just take deep breaths, and I have a singing bell, and I have to hit that bell 3 times, and I have to say my affirmations, and I remind myself, why can't I do it? I can do it. I am my best cheerleader every day. Absolutely. If I can't get myself on the right track, then who else is going to do it? Years ago in college, I had to write a book report on a topic, and I couldn't really find a book. And my roommate at the time, she had a book on her shelf called Self-Love. It started out with what self-love was not. It's not being vain, it's not being whatever. And it went through all these things, but it talked about how you had to have self-love in order for anybody to love you, in order for you to be your best. And it just went on and on. And this was back when I would say 18. And that was like the beginning of thinking and understanding at the lowest level, that my mind could be kind of transformed to make things happen. So that was kind of like the spark of that. So I decide, because I cheer myself on, and I know that intention drives what the outcome's going to be. So
yeah. And I ask that because there's so many people that assume if you're an introvert, that means you're shy, you're going to sit in the back corner, you're not going to talk to anybody. And I know you and I have both, when we have said we were introverts, had people go, there is no way. And it's like, it's nothing about how you interact and how you can teach, how you can sell, how you can do all that stuff. It's all about the energy of how you take your energy in and how you give it out. So,
and I think I subliminally mastered intention at a very young age. I used to declare things all the time, and it drove my sisters nuts. I would say, you know what? When we would go on vacation, I said, I'm going out because I'm going to go find a best friend. And I would come back with a best friend. Or I'm going out and whatever it was, I would declare it. And I didn't realize that I was using intention. But at a very early age, I always declared what I was going to do. And then I absolutely achieved whatever goal I wanted to get.
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so then related to that, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? That's your tree question.
I think about this all the time, and I am a little bit of a sci-fi nerd, and I actually don't know if I would want a superpower. I'd want to be Batman. And the superpower is the money to buy all the stuff in order to, because I almost feel like when you have a superpower, it's like a cheat, right? Because Superman, he's strong, there's nothing that can stop him. But Batman, man, that utility belt and his brain, I don't know. I think it's Batman rich. So I can have my utility belt and make things happen and use my brain.
See, I like that. There's now a new cartoon I just saw talked about recently where it's a little girl and her superpower is her brain. That she's very smart. She can think things through. She can figure things out, and I love that. First of all, that it's a little girl and she's major STEM, and her superpower is her brain. So yeah, it's really kind of cool. She still comes up against villains, but anyway. All right. So, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to say?
See, I don't know if here's something that people may or may not know about me, about my sister and the healthcare whole thing, was when she got lupus, eventually she needed a transplant, and I donated a kidney. And that was another way that I was in the health system, learning about the doctors and the processes and watching how, when there was a good moment and when there was a bad moment. I think we talked about this in one of our past show about being an advocate for your family, which was hard during COVID. And thank God now you can do that again in terms of if someone's in the hospital, you can spend the night. Because when my sister was really sick, there was one night she fell off her bed. She was connected to the IV. She couldn't walk. She was on the floor for 2 hours calling the nurse, and unfortunately they didn't hear her. And my mother said from that night on, she was there every day. And that really helped her recovery. And it made me understand that it's a relationship between healthcare and you have a responsibility also to participate in the healthcare experience. So it's just that, I guess what people don't know is that my passion for healthcare and marketing and helping people, it all kind of aligns to me. It's all part of all of the same thing. And I just love that whole space.
Which is why we're here doing this together too. We
Yeah,
have the same passions.
we do. We do.
Hopefully, we'll get this out to other people that have the same passion or need to understand, how that advocacy, how all of the systems work, and it's yeah. And it's one of those things too, like even in your sister's experience, yes, she should have been found before. But we also know, again, healthcare is a business, and they're pushing back. A lot of hospitals are pushing back on the number of nurses, so they have to find a better way
Yeah.
that they can do without the individuals and that type of thing. And yeah, it's just
Yeah, it's complex, it's
very
nuanced. There's a lot of things that make you think, healthcare should be, in my opinion, a right. But then again, it is a business and people's jobs are connected to it and their well-being and their family. So it's trying to find that perfect, I don't know, combination to make sure that everyone gets the health and compassion they need. Because I think one of the biggest things of healthcare, and this is across the board with communication, and this is part of the whole marketing aspect, is knowing how to speak to somebody from where they are. You can, when someone is in pain, it's hard to just get them to absorb a lot of information, and maybe what they need at that moment is it's going to be okay, or here's some information that will help. Let's talk about this later. It's being aware of who you're talking to. And in marketing, a lot of times in the B2B space, people like to talk about themselves. People like to talk about how they're great and all the good things that they're going to do. But really, when you're talking to someone, you really want to talk to, what's your problem? How can I help you? I know that this is your problem. You need these things to help you get better. And then you can go even deeper because each person has a level of, if you think about, like I said, I was in psychology, I majored in psychology of Maslow's hierarchy of need. a
Yep.
hierarchy of need. There's the basic physiological, there's the safety, esteem, and then the self
Actualization.
actualization that really is important. So all of those things are important, and they're intertwined, and I think about them all the time throughout my marketing. So
Yeah. Well, all right. I think we had another good session. I hope
thank you.
everybody got something out of it. And, I think we hit so many different topics. I think we can have people pulling different things from different areas between entrepreneurship and
But
some healthcare
I
stuff.
will follow. What you do is follow me on LinkedIn and make sure that you stay connected and follow Talking About PHI. We're a YouTube podcast, and we also have a podcast, an audio podcast. Follow us there, and you'll
Get
get the
more
news.
as we have everything out there.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Sue, this was good. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Talking About PHI. It's where we talk about all things healthcare. I'm Cat Valyi. This is Sue Chamberlain, and thanks for joining us. And until next time.